We all think we know that you can't catch cancer, right? Like you can't have cold. Someone sneezes and boom, a few days later, you're feeling under the weather.
Right. It's not like that.
No. But today's deep dive, well, let's just say there are exceptions to that rule. Some really rare cases of cancer actually being transmitted between people. Wild stuff. We're looking at an excerpt today that breaks it all down.
Yeah, and it really gets you thinking about the body's defenses, how complex they are, and how unusual the circumstances have to be for something like this to actually happen.
So we've got to start with the basics. I mean, the vast majority of the time, cancer isn't contagious.
Right.
Like, you can't just catch it from someone.
Right. No, definitely not. Casual contact, no. Cancer develops because of changes, mutations, in a person's own cells.
Okay.
Not from outside, like a virus or bacteria.
So it's an internal thing, not like something invading from the outside world.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like a breakdown within the body's own cells.
Got it. But then there are these exceptions.
Yeah.
The source material mentions organ transplants.
Right.
So I guess if a donor organ has cancer cells, they could be passed to the recipient, in theory.
Yeah. And the thing is, a big part of that is immunosuppressant drugs.
Right.
People who get transplants, they have to take those drugs to prevent their body from rejecting the new organ, but that makes them more vulnerable. I mean, to accepting foreign cells. And very, very rarely, that can include cancer cells.
So it's like kind of a trade-off.
Yeah.
Trying to save a life, but also maybe taking on a risk, even though it's a really small one. Are there certain types of cancer more likely to spread that way?
Oh, that's hard to say. It's complicated. Any cancer cells theoretically could pose a risk.
Yeah.
But I guess some types, like cancers of the blood and lymphatic system, they might be a little more likely to spread in a transplant.
Yeah.
But don't worry too much. Donor organs go through a really, really thorough screening process.
Right. To minimize the risk. Makes sense. But then we have, well, this really strange case of a surgeon who got cancer from a patient during surgery.
Oh yeah, that is a fascinating case. It really does show you how incredibly rare these circumstances are.
But what happened?
So this surgeon is operating on a patient with this rare abdominal tumor.
Okay.
It's called a malignant fibrous histiocytoma. Long name, I know. And during the surgery, he accidentally cuts his hand.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And what are histiocytes? I'm not even sure I know what that word means.
Oh, so they're cells that are really important in the immune system.
Okay.
Like, think of them as little Pac-Man, you know?
Uh-huh.
They go around gobbling up anything that doesn't belong, foreign substances, cellular debris. But in this case, the tumor was a malignant form, cancerous, basically.
Okay, so this is a cancerous tumor made of these immune cells.
Right.
So the surgeon cuts his hand. What happens next?
Months later, he develops a tumor right at the spot where he cut himself.
Wow.
And they did genetic analysis, and it showed that the cells in the surgeon's tumor were a match to the patient's cancer. Yeah. Now, the patient, unfortunately, they passed away later on, but it wasn't related to the cancer transfer. The surgeon, on the other hand, had his tumor removed, and 2 years later, no signs of it spreading.
Wow. That is both amazing and kind of terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But hold on. If our bodies are generally good at fighting off things that don't belong,
Right.
why didn't the surgeon's immune system just destroy those cancer cells?
Yeah, you would think, right. The original report, they speculated that maybe the tumor cells, the molecules in them had changed somehow, and that made them harder to recognize as foreign.
Interesting.
And they also suggested that maybe the surgeon's immune system, maybe it wasn't at its best.
Okay.
The stress of the surgery, other things going on, we don't really know.
So a bunch of really unlikely things all happened at once.
Exactly. It's a crazy case, but it should also be reassuring in a way. These kind of like transplanted cancers are so, so rare.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we shouldn't be walking around worried about catching cancer from someone.
Yeah.
But it is a reminder, isn't it, that our bodies are complex. Like really intricate.
Absolutely. We still have so much to learn about the immune system, you know, and how it interacts with cancer cells.
It makes you think. Like,
Yeah.
what other things might have made that surgeon more susceptible? Things that were mentioned in the report. It's like a
Right.
real medical mystery,
Yeah.
you know. And it shows us that we need more research in this area.
Yeah, definitely.
So for those of you listening who are intrigued, I really encourage you to dig deeper. The world of immunology and oncology, it's fascinating. Who knows what amazing discoveries are out there waiting to be made?
I think we've only scratched the surface.
Exactly.